this weekend at the Apex, we have an absolute scrap in the featherweight division. Aljamain Sterling is taking on Yusuf Zalal. And this is MMA Outlaw coming back at you with another video. And so let's waste no time and let's get right into it with the prelim opener of Julia Polastri versus Talita Alencar. I'm sorry about the pronunciation for the first name. I'm not doing a great job with the pronunciations, but let's waste no time. Alencar, very, very talented fighter, a grappler, shoots for a lot of takedowns, but I already know exactly who I'm taking in this fight. Julia Polastri, while she has had some difficulties throughout her UFC career, she's fought a much higher level of competition. Her last loss was to Lupi Godinez. Lupi Godinez, what did Lupi do? She got the takedowns off. And so I will say, if Alencar is able to get her takedowns off, I think she could have a lot of success. And look, I think Alencar may even win the first round with some of those takedowns. But Julia Polastri is a much, much better on the feet. Honestly, is much, much better with the BJJ. The only place that Alencar could possibly get Polastri is by getting on top of her and winning minutes by control time. And you know that is no way to win a fight. And just look at that reach disadvantage, right? Alencar is going to be at a 5-inch reach disadvantage from Julia Polastri. Julia Polastri is also 7 years younger, coming in at 28 years old, has had some great wins. And so ultimately, I am going to go with Julia Polastri. I think Polastri is a fine parlay piece. Don't absolutely love it. You know, what are her odds down here? They say minus 260, so not too bad. But, you know, I think Polastri will get the job done. I think round 2, round 3 KO are very interesting for a very, very little sprinkle. Round 2 KO is plus 1,100. Round 3 KO is plus 1,300. I put like $1 or $2 on those and wouldn't mind Julia Polastri in a parlay or two. But going to go with Polastri here. I do think Alencar has a chance of winning, right? We all know the path to victory. If Alencar is able to get the takedowns off and control minutes from the top, that's how she's going to win. But I don't believe that's going to happen. And so give me Julia Polastri. Moving onward, we got Max Griffin versus Victor Valenzuela. And earlier in the week, Victor Valenzuela was an underdog. He was coming in at about plus 100, plus 110. Now Victor Valenzuela has moved all the way to a minus 140 favorite. And the Chilean is making his debut coming off of a loss on the Contender Series. But the man he fought on the Contender Series, I forget exactly the name of that person, but he was a 9-0 Brazilian, absolutely incredible Muay Thai. And Victor Valenzuela didn't look too bad, particularly in the first round of that fight. I thought he even potentially could have won that first round. Ultimately, Victor Valenzuela did get finished. But I will say Max Griffin is not coming at him with the same power. And this is a fight, you know, in which I'm definitely going to have some difficulty picking. And I'm actually just going to go back and look at a few of their last performances here. Because Max Payne Griffin, you know, he's a UFC vet. And whenever you have these guys who are UFC vets who have been in and around the division, it's hard to go against them. But Max Griffin, you know, he had that split decision loss to Chris Curtis, which hindsight is really not that bad of a loss. But he got subbed by Michael Chiesa after getting dominated. But he didn't even get finished by a guy like Michael Morales. And Michael Morales, we've all seen the pop that he has at welterweight. Victor Valenzuela, I think he's a very, very talented fighter, but he's only really won by KO in his career. His last 5 wins, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. His last 5 wins are by KO. The one before that was an armbar submission as well. And so he hasn't gone to decision since 2022. Did have that loss against Michael Oliveira is who it was on the Contender Series. But ultimately, this is probably a sit back and enjoy spot. I'm going to lead Victor Valenzuela because I'll just be honest. I have a hard time, and maybe we'll get back to this in the main event. I have a hard time picking 40-year-olds. I have a hard time picking older guys who don't have like a clear skill gap. When I feel like the skill is very close and you have someone who's 32, hungry, making their UFC debut versus a guy who's been in and around the sport, you know, is certainly not at the top level of their game, I have a really difficult time going with that fighter. And so ultimately going to go with Victor Valenzuela here, but probably, you know, if you're betting on this, it's going to be a very, 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 very light sprinkle here. And so, moving onward, Francis the Fire Marshall versus Lucas Brennan. Originally, Francis Marshall was, I believe, supposed to fight Lucas Rocha, but he's fighting a different Lucas instead. And you saw those odds when we clicked on it. Minus 550 for a reason. I'm curious. FanDuel, when I looked last night, didn't even have this fight on their site. I really wanted to see what Francis the Fire Marshal to win by knockout returned. And I'm going to see right now if those odds are up yet. If those odds are up yet, and still no odds on the Francis the Fire Marshal versus Lucas Brennan fight. Give me Francis Marshall to win by knockout. I'm hoping that we're getting some good plus money there. Francis Marshall has shown a tendency to go for submissions, but this Lucas Brennan guy, he's more of a submission specialist. And I believe Francis the Fire Marshall, despite his up and down UFC career thus far, is a very, very, very talented fighter fighting out of American Top Team. We've seen him have really, really, really high highs. He's fought incredible fighters. I know Isaac Dolgarian was a part of that little betting scandal, but before that, Isaac Dolgarian was an incredible, incredible prospect. Francis the Fire Marshal had a great fight against him. In his last fight, who did he dispose of? Eric Silva? Yeah, it was Eric Silva. He beat absolutely easily. He fought Myra and Santos, lost by split decision. I thought he won that fight. Lost to William Gomis by split decision. I also thought he won that fight. And so Francis the Fire Marshal has had a rough go of things as of late, but I think Francis the Fire Marshal is absolutely the better fighter here in this spot. We saw him drop Dennis Bazooka. I wouldn't hate Francis the Fire Marshal in a parlay if the odds came down a little bit. But I really do believe that Francis Marshall is going to get the job done by submission or KO. This Lucas Brennan guy is 8-0 by submission. I watched one of his fights on the regional scene. It was his last fight, his last two fights. Yep. I remember he wrapped up that rear naked choke, both of them in round one. Just looks like a total mismatch of competition. But Lucas Brennan is very, very talented on the ground. And I think Francis the Fire Marshal is good everywhere. And so I really do believe the odds are going to point me to knockout or decision. I'm curious what that double chance is going to look like. Obviously, not sure what the odds are going to be here, so can't give you the most betting advice. But when the odds come out, depending on what they are, I'm probably going to take that KO or decision. I'm probably going to take that KO prop, and I might throw Francis the Fire Marshal in a parlay or two. And so, moving onward, Jafel Filho versus Cody Durden, and you see the odds there, minus 650 for Jafel Filho versus a plus 450 Cody Durden. But let me tell you something about Cody Durden. Cody Durden is willing to take any fight, anywhere, anyhow. Cody Durden on 3 days' notice stepping in against Jafel Filho. Cody Durden doesn't care that he's on a 5-fight losing streak, or I might be 4. It might be a 4-fight losing streak. I don't want to do my guy so dirty. So let me double check before I tell you he's on a 5-fight losing streak. But either way, I already know the angle that I'm taking this fight. Again, this fight is not out yet on FanDuel. Yep, a 4-fight losing streak. My bad, Cody Durden. My bad. This fight is not yet out on FanDuel, and I really am curious what the submission prop is here. Because sometimes, as we saw in that Nigel two-man Dembarel fight for Cody Durden oftentimes does shoot these sloppy takedowns. I'm looking to see if they have this fight offshore on any betting sites, because I think there's with Cody Durden being a guy who shoots those goofy takedowns, with Jafel Filho being a guy who is just really dominant with his jiu-jitsu. Really, really dominant with his jiu-jitsu. I think it's very, very easy. It's very, very easy to say here, Jafel Filho is going to win this fight by submission. Yeah, man. Yep, this fight, no props yet on this fight. Just see a minus 670. Man, I'm trying to find what are the outcomes. I can't find the outcomes anywhere. Either way, Jafel Filho going to dominate this fight. Minus 650 for a reason. Love Jafel Filho by submission here. Really curious what the number is going to come back and be. Like if Jafel Filho to win by submission is something like minus 150, obviously I'm probably not taking a minus 150 to win by submission. But if we get any plus money on Jafel Filho to win by sub, I think that's the great angle here versus Cody Durden. I really can't see Jafel Filho losing this fight, but anytime a guy gets probably above minus 500, I'm probably not putting them in a parlay. And so that probably goes for Francis the Fire Marshall as well. Just not sure if I can stomach those odds. They're not giving us enough value, especially in a fight. And so Jafel, Filho, absolutely gonna take him to win the fight, gonna take him to win by submission. But we have to actually see what these odds are. And it's disappointing when you come out on Thursday to make one of these videos and you can't even see the method of victories yet. But either way, we're moving onward to Myra Bueno Silva versus Michelle Montague. Again, another fight that I think is very, very easy to break down. Michelle Montague is going to win this fight. Myra Bueno Silva has looked terrible as of recently. She's on a 4-fight losing streak, and the fight before that was the no contest against Holly Holm. Myra Bueno Silva, ever since she had that opportunity to fight for the title, has been downhill. And Michelle Montague is very, 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 very good. We've seen a lot of talent from her. A very, 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 very heavy is the way that I would describe her. Very, very heavy on top, not just heavy. Very, very heavy on top with the grappling. Michelle Montague has looked really, really good with the grappling. But I think Myra Bueno Silva has very, very talented BJJ, as we know. Has a very, very good submission game. And so I think the angle here for Michelle Montague, even though she's never had a knockout win, when you have a minus 400, I'm curious. Wait, I think this fight is out on FanDuel. So let me check what Michelle Montague to win by like a KO is. But I think it might be worth a shot the way we've seen Myra Bueno Silva absolutely wilt and just fall apart. Michelle Montague by KO at plus 600. I'm not going to take that. Maybe I'm going to put $1 on it. But I think I don't really see Michelle Montague submitting Myra Bueno Silva just because Myra Bueno Silva is so good on the ground. And so Michelle Montague by points is the obvious pick, right? Plus 110, that is a very, very, very good bet. But the long shot guy inside of me wants to take Montague to win by KO. And so I wouldn't even I wouldn't mind Michelle Montague as a parlay piece because I really do think she's so good that she could kind of get the job done anywhere. So Michelle Montague is going to be in a parlay, even at those heavier odds. I'm going to have to stomach taking Michelle Montague in a parlay. I'm probably going to end up taking Michelle Montague to win by points. But if you're a long shot guy and you want to sweat some of these long shots, Michelle Montague to win by KO over Myra Bueno Silva, that could be an angle. But really, best bet here would be Montague by points and Montague in a parlay. So moving upward, Jackson McVey versus Sedriques Dumas. We got Boog Gang himself. What up, Boog Gang? Versus Jackson McVey, and this is a very, very easy fight for me to pick here. Boom Gang has looked absolutely terrible in his UFC career. I wonder if he's going to come into this fight with an ankle monitor like he has in fights past, but either way, this is an easy fight for me to pick. Jackson McVey came into the UFC on short notice, I believe. Was that first fight against Zachary Reese, and looked very, 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 very good. Jackson McVey is absolutely a parlay piece here. I really do believe Jackson McVey is better than Sedriques Dumas everywhere the fight goes. Everywhere the fight goes. We saw Jackson McVey in the clinch, throwing those big, big, big knees. Ultimately has lost to Zachary Reese and Bruno, but he came in on short notice and fought Bruno Ferreira. Fighting Bruno Ferreira on short notice is no joke. Fighting Zachary Reese is no joke. These are really, really, really talented 185ers. And I think he took both of those fights on short notice. And he looked good throughout those fights at times. Absolutely, Sedriques Dumas has looked horrible. He looked where I don't even know how Sedriques Dumas beat Cody Brundage. I'm going to be honest. And I had Sedriques Dumas in that fight. I think if Cody Brundage and Sedriques Dumas fought again, he would lose. He would lose. Beating Abu Azaitar, that is no feather in your cap. He's gotten KO'd by Michaelle Zoicek. No shame there. I mean, but then in his last fight, he got submitted by Dante Johnson, and we saw Dante Johnson go to that ugly, ugly, ugly split decision with Cody Brundage. Sedriques Dumas had that no contest with Zachary Reese, absolutely decimating his ball sack. I am sorry, Zachary Reese. And so ultimately, I think this is a very, very easy fight for me to pick here. I'm going to take Jackson McVey, and I'm going to take Jackson McVey to win by KO as well at plus 220. That is absolutely one of the props that I'm going to be hammering. Jackson McVey, love, love, love the money line. Already have him in a few parlays. Already have him to win by KO, and I will hint you guys, I know some of these picks look similar to one of my other YouTubers, but I'm telling you guys, I locked in my cycle parlay, and it was the same exact cycle parlay that Matty Betts has. And so, if you guys watch Matty Betts, if you're familiar with the channel, I would recommend checking him out. He's a great, great, great YouTuber. But I'm not gonna lie, we had the same thought process, and Jackson McVey to win by knockout is plus 220. And let me tell you guys, I already locked in Jackson McVey and Michelle Montague parlay. That returns minus 120 odds. I really, really, really do like that. I've already taken McVey to win by KO. I might even take a straight on McVey at minus 200, kind of hoping those odds fall down a little bit more. But love Jackson McVey here in this spot versus Bonk Gang Sedriques Dumas. And so, moving upward, Rodolfo Vieira versus Eric McConico. And let me tell you, Rodolfo Vieira has some of the worst striking defense I have ever seen in my life. Go back and watch that Bo Nickel versus Rodolfo Vieira fight. Bo Nickel was absolutely piecing him up way before the head kick even happened. Eric McConico has a really unique opportunity here. McConico, I have no belief in Eric McConico, I'm going to be honest. But I also have no belief in Rodolfo Vieira. I really do think Rodolfo Vieira is one of the worst UFC fighters with a winning record. We've seen Rodolfo Vieira take on some of the worst levels of competition in the UFC. The only guy he's fought that is any good is Anthony Hernandez, and he got absolutely dispersed by Anthony Hernandez. There's no shame in losing to a guy like Anthony Hernandez, right? But he got pieced up by Bo Nickel, got absolutely dominated by Andre Petroski on the feet, getting dominated by Petroski on the feet. Submitted Cody Brundage, yeah, good for you. Submitted Armin Petrosian, absolutely, good for you. His only impressive win to me was that submission win over Dustin Stoltzfus. But that was a little bit earlier in Stoltzfus' career before he kind of hit his stride. Eric McConico, man, he's not very good. And this is the problem. McConico is really not that good. And so you have a hard time putting your money on someone in Eric McConico who isn't good. But I think Bangsar Susarkayev gets Rodolfo Vieira out of there within a round or two. And Eric McConico kind of stood around and made Bangsar Susarkayev, Bangsar Susarkayev was winning the fight, right? So I don't want to say he made him look good. But Eric McConico didn't look all that half bad. He beat Cody Brundage. He got slimed out by Nursultan Rozaboyev. But Rozaboyev is huge. And McConico is going to be the bigger guy in this fight. I think Rodolfo Vieira is coming up as 6 foot. I think he's more like 5'10". McConico is 6 foot. I think he's more of a true 6 foot. He's going to have a reach advantage. He's going to have a leg reach advantage. And let me tell you, I really do believe Rodolfo Vieira should be like a minus 180, minus 170. And look at these odds that we're getting here. Plus 235 on Eric McConico. This fight is certainly going to be dog or pass. I think Eric McConico is the side here. I think Eric McConico gets the job done by decision. And I think ultimately, if you're looking for a long shot prop, right, you take that Eric McConico by decision. Ultimately, if you're just looking for a money line bet, you're going to take Eric McConico on the money line. McConico by points is plus 430. I do not hate that at all. And so, Eric McConico to win, that is going to be the side that I am going with. Give me Eric McConico. I do think Rodolfo Vieira, if he gets him on the ground, he's going to have a good time. But man, am I a Rodolfo Vieira hater. This is more about I think Rodolfo Vieira is not good than it is I think about Eric McConico is good. And so, ultimately, got to be dog or pass. Give me Eric McConico. And so, moving onward to the main card opener of Marcus Buchecha versus Ryan Spann. And let me tell you guys, this is a very, very, very difficult fight to pick here. Ryan Spann could absolutely slime out Marcus Buchecha in 2 seconds. In 2 seconds. Ryan Superman Spann has that ability to flatline anyone. Really, really anyone. But if Marcus Buchecha gets Ryan Spann on the ground, if Marcus Buchecha survives the first 2.5, 3 minutes, he's going to absolutely dominate this fight. And so, ultimately, I'm going to go with Marcus Buchecha here. Marcus Buchecha to win the fight by submission. That is the angle. I'm going to take the submission, absolutely. I'm going to take Buchecha on the money line, absolutely. It's just a really difficult fight here because Ryan Spann could easily slime Buchecha out. And so I would caution you, I would please caution you from throwing all of your money on Marcus Buchecha. But I really do believe that Marcus Buchecha will get the job done here by submission. I believe Ryan Spann is just past his prime. I think Spann had crazy pop at 205, and I'm not quite sure if he has that same pop here at heavyweight. And so give me Marcus Buchecha. I believe he's going to be in better shape. He's the younger fighter. He's probably the hungrier guy here. Ryan Spann has been up and down in the UFC. And ultimately, I think Buchecha gets the job done. And so, moving forward, Montel Jackson versus Raoni Barcelos. And this is a very difficult fight to predict here. Ultimately, I would tell you guys this is probably I don't really know what to do here. Raoni Barcelos could absolutely dominate Montel Jackson. Montel Jackson is one of the more talented fighters in the UFC. Let me tell you guys, in case you forgot, Montel Jackson is coming off of that loss to Deiveson Figueiredo. And Raoni Barcelos and Deiveson Figueiredo are very similar fighters, and that's not just because they're from Brazil. But I truly do believe that Montel Jackson is going to learn from that fight. Deiveson Figueiredo was there to be had. Anytime Montel Jackson went forward and really led the dance and threw, he was landing. He was absolutely landing on Raoni Barcelos. And so Montel Jackson has to be the side that we're going here, because if Montel Jackson is watching film, if Montel Jackson is looking to improve, he's going to beat a guy like Raoni Barcelos. But I have consistently doubted Raoni Barcelos throughout his career, and he's been on this resurgence. What has he won, 4 fights in a row? I'm just going to check. He's won 4 fights in a row, submitting Christian Quinones, winning 3 unanimous decisions. Peyton Talbot, that win has aged like fine wine. Cody Garbrandt, Ricky Simone. Raoni Barcelos has dominated all of those fights. And so I can't see him dominating someone in Montel Jackson, who is such a physical specimen for this bantamweight division. I remember when Montel Jackson absolutely slimed out Damon Blackshear. And Blackshear is a pretty good fighter. I think Raoni Barcelos could get the takedowns. He could win this fight. But I think Montel Jackson ultimately probably gets the job done by decision here. I think there's also a chance that Montel Jackson could spark Raoni Barcelos. Montel Jackson is one of the best fighters within the UFC. And so very happy with Montel Jackson's performances as of late. I'm sorry, someone just knocked on my door, and so I had to look over. But Montel Jackson, going to have him to get the job done. And so, moving onward, this is one of our favorite spots of the week. We have Dangerous Davy Grant versus Adriana Luna Martini. And I'm sad that I did not get my bet in earlier this week. You see Davy Grant at minus 130 odds. I am absolutely hammering Dangerous Davy Grant. I don't care that he's 40 years old. This debutee, Adrian, from the Contender Series, man, I think he's a fraud. If I'm going to be honest, I think he's a fraud. He had that crazy fight with Mark Volodin, right? But Mark Volodin, we saw him last week. Is he really that good? Is Mark Volodin that good? You had that crazy competitive fight with Mark Volodin. And I think a guy like Dangerous Davy Grant, he's just too scrappy. He's just a little bit too good. I know he got submitted by Charles Jourdain, but he just got hurt. That was that flying knee. And once Jourdain hurts you, he goes in for the kill. I think Jourdain would probably beat a guy like Adriana Luna as well. I think Luna is going to, sprawl right at him. Not sprawl. Luna's going to charge right at him. He's going to shoot for those takedowns. But we've seen Davy Grant really handle a bunch of amazing fighters. He had that crazy reverse triangle versus Rafael Assunção. He had that crazy close fight versus Daniel Marcos that I really do believe that he won. Well, who did he beat? That was Ramon Taveras that he absolutely dominated in a decision win. He dominated Damon Blackshear. as well. He's had some crazy, crazy, crazy scraps in the UFC, and Dangerous Davy Grant, despite being 40 years old, has shown a lot of promise and life in his most recent fights. I think Luna, absolutely. Could he win this fight? Sure. He could shoot for the takedowns. He could control Davy Grant. But Dangerous Davy Grant is going to be in there looking for powerful shots. And man, Dangerous Davy Grant looks so good in his fights. I really do love Dangerous Davy Grant. And so Dangerous Davy Grant is going to be my favorite spot of the week. And so, moving onward, Rafa Garcia versus Alexander Hernandez. This is going to be a very difficult one for me. I really do think Rafa Garcia and Alexander Hernandez are kind of a mirror matchup of each other. They're very similar fighters. But Alexander Hernandez, I believe, has been in slightly better form as of late, has won 4 in a row. And I do think, anytime Alexander Hernandez wins 4 in a row, it gets a little scary because we know Alexander Hernandez has had quite a few hiccups. But I can't get out of my mind when Rafa Garcia just got absolutely dominated by Gordon. Got absolutely dominated by Grant Dawson. He went to a decision with Vince Pichel. I think Alexander Hernandez probably against Vince Pichel right out of there. I will say Rafa Garcia's most recent win against Jared Gordon, very impressive. But Jared Gordon got in a car accident on the week of the fight, and I really think that played an impact on Jared Gordon's psyche, on his physicality. And I mean, decision wins over Clay Guida, Maheshate. So not great wins for Rafa Garcia. But Alexander Hernandez wins hasn't aged too great either. Split decision against Austin Hubbard, really. Kurt Holloway, that win is aged okay. Chase Hooper, that win has not aged too well. But I think the win that really does it for me is the Carlos Diego Ferreira. Carlos Diego Ferreira, CDF, is a really good fighter. Grant Dawson couldn't get him out of there, and Alexander Hernandez sparked him out. I think this fight is going to be really close, though. I just lean Alexander Hernandez here. Probably may sprinkle a little bit on the money line. I think Hernandez probably gets the job done by decision here. This fight to go to the scorecards is -190. I really do like that angle. I think this fight is definitely going to decision, and so whoever you like here, I'd probably tell you to take them by points. In addition to sprinkling their money line. But I really like this fight to go to decision, and that's about -190. And so, moving onward, Jocelyn Edwards versus Norma Dumont. I'm going to keep this breakdown short and sweet. There's a reason that Jocelyn Edwards has knocked out 4 girls in a row and is still a +195 underdog. I really do believe Norma Dumont is kind of better anywhere. Jocelyn Edwards has looked really good as of late. And if she's able to use that reach and keep kind of Norma Dumont at distance, keep her at bay, use some of those longer kicks, she's going to have a lot of success. But Norma Dumont is, and I think there's a clear path for victory is pretty much what I'm saying here. If Norma Dumont can get some takedowns off, Jocelyn Edwards has struggled mightily once she gets on the ground. I really do believe that Norma Dumont is a very complete UFC women's fighter. She's good everywhere the fight goes, and I think Jocelyn Edwards is kind of a one-trick pony. She wants to be striking. She wants to be moving forward if she can be. She's all right kind of moving backwards and throwing some kicks at range, but she wants to be a downhill striker, get those hands going, get those kicks going, and really work and freaking wear on those women's fighters. But if you're able to take down Jocelyn Edwards, you're going to have a lot of success. I think Jocelyn Edwards working with Eric Nixick at Extreme Couture is definitely going to be improving, constantly improving. And so at these -245 odds, I don't necessarily love it, but I don't mind Norma Dumont as a parlay piece here. And so Norma Dumont to get the job done on the money line. Wouldn't mind her as the parlay piece, but not the biggest fan in the world. But definitely going with Norma Dumont here, which takes us to our main event of the evening. The former bantamweight champion, Aljamain Sterling, taking on Youssef Zalal. And Youssef Zalal is a very talented fighter. Zalal, we've seen him have some crazy submissions, some crazy submission wins. But let me tell you something. He is not going to be submitting this guy, Aljamain Sterling. I think this fight is very clearly going to go to decision. It's a 3-2 fight in my head. Who is going to be able to pull away? if it's big grappling exchanges, who do I trust just a little bit more to get the best of those exchanges? Yusuf Zalal, I think at times on the feet can kind of get caught up in, oh, I need to have perfect footwork here. Got to work on my foot placement. And while that is incredibly important in a fight, I think he can catch himself kind of dancing around on the outside, not really doing much. Where Aljamain Sterling, it's not going to look the cleanest, but it's going to be incredibly effective. We've seen Aljamain Sterling look really, 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 really good on the feet in some of his past fights. Even though it doesn't look conventional, even though he's there to be clipped. We saw Sean O'Malley put out Aljamain Sterling, but I'm sorry if you hear that little rolling around in the background. People are taking the trash out. But that's exactly what Aljamain Sterling is going to do to this boy, Yusuf Zalal. And I think, again, this is going to be a close fight. But Yusuf Zalal attempts a lot of, I think it's like over 3 submissions per 15 minutes. But I just can't see Yusuf Zalal getting a submission off of Aljamain Sterling. Aljamain Sterling is too talented, has had too many high-level fights, has too much 5-round experience. And I don't really understand why Aljamain Sterling is an underdog here. I know he's getting older. I know Yusuf Zalal is in great form. But Movsar Evloev had an incredibly close fight with Aljamain Sterling, where Aljamain Sterling got some of the better of him in the grappling at times. And I really do believe that fight was 1-1 going into the third, and Aljo had a really, really close third round as well. And so I really, really, really do like Aljamain Sterling here in this featherweight division. I think Aljamain Sterling has about a 55% chance to win, and they're giving me plus money on Aljo. I think Aljo by points, absolutely, plus 280. I think Aljamain Sterling on the money line, I saw right here it was plus 105 earlier in the week. I got it plus 110. And so give me Aljamain Sterling over Yusuf Zalal in the main event. Should be a wonderful scrap. I'm excited to see the grappling exchanges. Should be incredibly high level. But I love the backpack here, Aljamain Sterling. And so, going up, as we always do, we're going to speed run through all of our picks and our best bets here in one. And so, give me Aljamain Sterling to win this fight. Give me the money line as a best bet. Give me the sprinkle Aljamain Sterling by decision as a best bet as well. Give me Norma Dumont here on the money line. Give me a Norma Dumont as a parlay piece. I'm not going to tell you guys my parlays. If you're interested in the parlays, though, please, please, please hit me up. MMA Outlaw TV on Instagram. I will shoot you guys a DM with the parlays that I'm taking if you swipe up and ask me for them. So Norma Dumont on the money line. She's going to be a parlay piece. Absolutely. Alexander Hernandez on the money line. Going to be the lightest of lightest sprinkles on the best bet. Going to take him to win the fight, obviously. Davey Grant, the biggest best bet of the evening. Obviously, he's going to be winning the fight. We have Montel Jackson to win the fight. A very, 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 very light sprinkle on Montel Jackson to win as a best bet. But really, really, really wouldn't recommend betting on that fight. I'm just a guy, I like betting on all the fights. Marcus Buchecha, again, very, very, very light sprinkle on the money line, as well as a sprinkle on Marcus Buchecha to win by submission. Rodolfo Vieira versus Eric McConico. Give me the dog, Eric McConico. A very, very light sprinkle on McConico's odds, and a very, very light sprinkle on McConico by points at plus 430. Give me Jackson McVey to get the job done. Money line, absolutely a parlay piece. Might even take it straight at one point. But Jackson McVey to win by KO, plus 220. Absolutely love that as well. Michelle Montague, minus 400. It's going to be a parlay piece. I really do believe Michelle Montague gets the job done ultimately by points at plus 110. Again, if you're looking for a long shot prop, plus 600. Michelle Montague to win by KO. Don't love it, but I think it could absolutely happen. Jafel Filho is going to win this fight. Give me Jafel Filho by submission on the best bets. The exact results haven't come out for that fight, but excited to see it when they do. Francis Marshall absolutely is going to win this fight. Give me Francis Marshall by KO. Similar to the last one, the method of victories have not come out yet, but I will be taking Francis the Fire Marshall. Victor Valenzuela for a very, very light sprinkle versus Max Payne Griffin, and Julia Polastri to beat Talita Alencar. And so, though that could be a parlay piece, but again, reach out to me on Instagram if you want my full betting card, or TikTok, MMA Outlaw TV on both. And if you enjoy content just like this, make sure you smash that like button. Let me know who you guys are taking in the comment section. This one should be a really, really good fight night. I'm not really sure why we're seeing it at the Apex, but I'm very, very, very excited for these fights. Let me know again who you guys are taking in the comment section, and I'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace.